Squirtle. And oh my god, Miltank.
To Ruby and Sapphire in your reviews already. Oh, but there was another game. You know what I speak of. The game that taught you what betrayal was. The game that took the two things you cherished the most as a child and rent them asunder before your very eyes.
God, why do people do that?
These nightmares appear to be coming more and more frequently.
Well, I just got done with Gold and Silver in the Pokemon series, and you know what comes next.
Ruby and Sapphire, correct?
Well, yes, Ruby and Sapphire would be the next real generation, but there was another game. A game that should never have even been.
Another Pokemon game.
It wasn't Pokemon in name, but yeah, it was basically another Pokemon game. Animorphs. For the Game Boy. You know, if there was one series that meant as much to me as a child as Pokemon, it would have been Animorphs. I mean, do you remember the little booklets you'd get from Scholastic every quarter where you could order books, or I'd get usually enough like allowance or lawn mowing or what have you money every couple weeks to go get one of them, and I almost always did. In fact, I've got my big box of them right here. Yeah, that's like every book in the series minus I think 2 of them. And you know, it wasn't just the series. You had books like the Andalite Chronicles and the Visser Chronicles. This was kind of late. I don't really know if anyone read that. And it was great because I was always kind of an advanced reading level for my age. And so they had Megamorphs, which were a thicker, almost like novel-sized version. And they even had a Choose Your Own Adventure series. It's kind of short called Alternamorphs. Oh man, I think you got like a hyena morph as your main combat one. So I thought it was kind of silly, but there you go. Now, I know that there are some people, I'm not going to name names, who have expressed certain disinterest in the show, but I mean, I liked it, so I'm not saying that it's bad that they did. I'm not saying that, you know, they're entitled to their opinion, but I think they can just... Thinking about it, it kind of makes sense in a weird way that I would come onto this book series right after my Power Rangers fascination. Animorphs almost has kind of a Sentai feel to it with the 5-man band trope. You've got your leader, Jake, the Lancer, Marco, the big guy, Rachel, or big gal, I guess, the heart, Cassie, and the bird guy, Tobias. There was even a 6th Ranger who proved to be far more interesting than the main cast, the Andalite alien Axe. For those of you who don't know, Animorphs follows the story of 5 young teenagers who gain the power to morph into any animal that they can touch, by use of alien technology granted to them by the dying Andalite Prince Elfangor as he crash-landed on Earth. The Andalites are at war with a mind-control race of slugs called the Yeerks, who have spotted Earth as their next target. Most of the story is the kids trying to hold off a total Yeerk conquest until the Andalite reinforcement come and save the planet. Now, Pokemon and Animorphs kind of crossed paths once. Like if anything successful, there's a bunch of people who will look at something like Pokemon and say, we can do that, we can put something together like that, and stupid kids will just eat it up. The problem when they do that is they often have no understanding of what made the successful thing good and what made people passionate about it. They take the basest concepts and decide they can cobble together something, throw it out there, and it'll just make oodles of money. Keep in mind, I was in the middle of both my Pokemon and Animorphs fascination when I got the Animorphs Game Boy game. It was by Scholastic Games. That should fill you with as much hope as you're thinking it should. The game opens with a brief description of the series' premise, and the background music sounds like an assortment of electronic keyboards being hurled down a flight of stairs. Listen. So you start off this mission-based game with a level called Save the Animals, where you play as Cassie. I kind of wanted to play as Axe or Marco, but hey, that's just me. You start the adventure in the barn. In the series, the barn is owned by Cassie's parents and is used as sort of a wildlife health clinic. Talking to everyone, it appears that 4 Andalite processors have been stolen by the Yeerks, and we have to get them back. Maybe I'll be able to use them to run Crisis. Am I right? 90s joke? Oh hey, a little mouse running around. Let's see what... Seriously? Seriously? They didn't even try to hide the fact that this was a shameless Pokemon ripoff. Look at this! Look at this! What, did Scholastic have such a better legal team that Nintendo didn't immediately take action? This is the most shameless ripoff since Asylum Pictures. I mean, look at this! And another thing, I had to morph into a dog to fight a rat. I can't just grab the rat. In the books, the kids generally have to figure out a way to sneak up on the animals they acquire, because one of the limits of their powers is that they can't acquire new morphs while in animal form. Here you have to beat the animal to get its morph. But hey, now I can turn into a dog and a rat. And really, what more do I need to go check out a pet shop? It's not like I'm going to run into any horrifying monsters on the way to... Holy crap, a horrifying monster! Now, for those of you who don't know, a Hork-Bajir is a 7-foot-tall, green, spike-laden alien of doom. And here it's just walking around in plain daylight. Well, to be fair, it might be scripted to give me a good combat morph once I beat the thing. Got food? I can't acquire the Hork-Bajir? They all get Hork-Bajir morphs in the books. Hell, it even becomes Tobias's main combat morph, but I can't get... whatever. So back to getting food. Unlike in Pokemon, there's no item system, so when you find food, the animal that you're morphed into at the time just gets health back. There is no other way to heal yourself in this game, and not many creatures really drop food. In the book, injuries were treated differently. You see, morphs were based on copying the DNA of a creature, and as injuries don't affect the DNA, going from one morph to another instantly heals it. You'd think they would do this considering there's a massive penalty for being caught morphing, ending the game. But no, once your morph is too injured, you just lose it. Fantastic. Also, every single animal, be it a mouse or a pet dog, will attack you without hesitation. Yet, people are still just strolling down the street. Really gives you a sense of terrible cataclysms that are happening. Well, I guess I've got to find the mall, which isn't as hard as it sounds considering it's the only other building you can get into. Wow, look at this pet shop! They've got rats and dogs and monkeys and chimps. Monkeys and chimps. I'm pretty sure those are super illegal to sell as pets, but that's not going to stop me from beating the crap out of one. This one's for Charlton Heston!
Take your sticking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Yeah, I showed that ape. You best beware the beast man. Well, girl. In the body of a dog. Let's move on. I I also love how you have no limit to how often you can use certain moves, meaning there's no reason not to just wail on your enemy with your most powerful attack. It's like if you got infinite hyper beam. Anyway, you eventually get a snake morph, which lets you slither through a crack in the wall to the gardens, the city zoo, which here looks more like the Tower of Ursank. What if I can acquire an Astari morph? Inside, you have to disconnect these towers that apparently are making all the animals in the city go crazy. But a problem becomes pretty quickly apparent. See, you can morph into a dog, a rat, a snake, and a chimp at this point, and in the zoo there are elephants and lions. All of these animals are insanely stronger than anything you've gotten up to this point. Well, eventually I managed to not die long enough to get an elephant morph, and now I'm off to shut down the emitters or whatever the hell they are. To be honest, this is farther than I ever got as a kid, though even as a kid I loved how none of the enclosures were, closed. I mean, no reason to keep the, mind-controlled vicious animals in their cages or anything. Anyway, you turn off all the machines, then some guy in the lion cage tells you about the Bat Cave. I'm not making that up, the game literally says the Bat Cave. No, me!
The Batcave causes the game to just completely shift gears, becoming this weird maze avoidance side-scrolling thing. Frankly, I can't even figure out what to do. It looks like I can't go over some things, but I also can't go under, and I can't stop the bat. I have no idea how to get by here.
I didn't get farther in this game than that, but to be honest, I don't need to. Don't think I just wanted to hate this game either. I wanted to like it. I wanted desperately to like it. If I'm being honest, even the Pokemon aspect almost makes sense, considering the source material. It is just so cheap and so blatantly ripping off a successful franchise that the whole thing just comes off as heartless. It is immediately and painfully apparent that this is just a cash-in, the product of a marketing team that just wanted to make a quick buck. Specific to the gameplay though, there's just no depth to it. One of the things that made Pokemon great was that it felt like each Pokemon was a unique creature. Leveling it up meant that you put time and investment into your party, and when you put in that investment, you cared about the outcome. Here you can acquire and lose morphs so rapidly that they never even mean anything to you. The plot is also non-existent, it's just a blatant series of excuses to get you from one memorable scene in the books to another. Like Lord of the Rings: The Third Age.
This game may not be as bad as the PS1 version that General Zilla reviewed, but my god, it is still awful. If you're a serious fan of Pokemon or Animorphs, just reread the books.
That's all I've got for you this week. I'll see you next time. Koopa, there been any significant changes in the scanning program?
We have detected nothing resembling the Eternity Sword, but to be frank, I don't know what to expect. The sword is a myth, and I trust Hippie Mike as far as I can throw him.
In my experience, it's just the kind of myth that turns out to be true in the end. Now, it says here that the Eternity Sword is the crossing point of all the universes, and that it can only be taken up by a Prime in defense of the multiverse. I think an evil version of me with multiverse conquest on his mind counts.
Still, though, you have the Thuum. Don't you have any dragon shouts that would be more effective than chasing fairy tales?
Being the Dragonborn isn't very useful when there are, no dragons around. It took me years to learn Fusra, that's the most basic shout of all. No, Dark Mike's afraid of the Eternity Sword, which to me is good reason enough to go after it. My only question right now is why hasn't he shown up yet?
Different dimensions exist in different times. To him, he may have crossed over immediately after your Hypernaturals review, but to us it could be days, weeks, or even years before he arrives.
Well, let me know if our scan brings up anything. I think it's our best shot. My dog is here. You want to see my dog? Are you gonna run away? Shelby! Want to see my dog? There she is. There she'll be. Okay. Back to business.